New York is one of the big hubs for improvisation, and at the Upright Citizens Brigade you can see big name comedy stars for cheap or even free. Here's the story behind UCB. I'm here on the UCB stage with the artistic director, Anthony King. Now, let's start out with how this whole place come about. How did it start?
The UCB are Amy Poehler, Ian Roberts, Matt Besser, and Matt Walsh, and they had a show on Comedy Central, and they had moved to New York from Chicago to try to get that show, and then once they had that show, they started a theater.
Now, there are lots of different hubs for improv in North America. There's Chicago, there's Toronto, New York, LA.
Yeah.
What makes New York distinctive?
The UCB basically brought long form to New York. I would say all of the improv in New York is kind of either of their philosophy or in reaction to their philosophy.
For the improv newbies out there, how would you define long form improv?
In short form, there are you know ahead of time what's going to be funny about the scene, what the games are going to be. And in long form, we discover what's interesting or funny as we go. So I kind of think of it as on a continuum from theater to stand-up. Short form is closer to stand-up and long form is closer to theater.
There's a show called ASCAT.
Yes.
It's on Sundays.
Yes.
What's the deal with it?
ASCAT is kind of our flagship show. That's where you'll see the best improvisers in our theater, people from Saturday Night Live and The Daily Show and places like that all drop in every now and then. And there's none of the pressure that they feel from television and things that actually have ratings. So they get to come hang out, and that's something that the theater's always been about. Is it's a place where you'll see the next big star and people who are just doing it because they love it, and a place where the people who have kind of started to build a career come back to play.
And why is it free? I'm sure you could charge a mozza for people.
It's just always been something we've always really wanted to have a lot of shows that are available to anyone and not have money be a big part of it. That's always been a mission statement of the theaters.
In addition to having the theater with about 4 shows per night, there's also the Training Institute at UCB. What kinds of people do you get who are learning improv?
There's always the person who shows up who thinks if I take one improv class, then I'll be on Saturday Night Live, which is not true. But a lot of them are people who just want to be more comfortable in, public speaking or things like that.
This weekend in New York is the Del Close Marathon.
Yes.
Who was Del Close, first of all?
He was the kind of mentor for the UCB and for a lot of other people in Chicago. And so the UCB created the Del Close Marathon as a festival every year to honor him. So every year we have this festival in the summer where we do improv for 24 hours a day for an entire weekend.
A lot of people's worst nightmare would be to stand up in front of people with no idea what they were going to do next and with the expectation that they were performing. What is the appeal?
There's nothing better than that feeling of you're making something up and with someone else and the audience, their reaction just informs what you do next. And so there's just this cool thing going on whenever something's really happening with improv that is not like anything else.
Have you ever had one of those nights where it just all goes wrong?
The great thing about being on this stage is that you're with people who are supportive, and so even if you're having an off night or something that you're doing is not working, someone has your back and will be there to step out and make it work.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Yeah, of course.
To find out more about the Del Close Marathon, visit delclosemarathon.com. I'm Ella Morton, and you've been watching Rocketboom.